Good morning, Heidi Foy here with Bullfrog Recruiting Solutions. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today we are going to be doing College Rodeo 101, our weekly spotlight. As we start to, it's always interesting trying to nail coaches down during the rodeo season. So as we start to kind of get to the end of some of our seasons, hopefully we'll get a few more coaches in here. Before we get started with today's spotlight, I do want to give a shout out to a couple of our advertisers, sponsors in the community, Casper College, located right here in Casper, Wyoming, and Garden City Community College. Give a shout out to Jim Boy there for his support and partnership. If you guys are tuning in live, thank you so much for joining us. If you're rewatching, please make sure that you comment, ask any questions. If anything comes up for you, just post that, or you can get a hold of both Coach and I in the community or whatever social media platform is your favorite, because I'm pretty sure we're on all of them. So without further ado, I do want to welcome Miss Shelby Winchell. She is the head coach at, I have said this wrong and right so many different times, I think my brain is confused. Northeastern
Junior College. You're fine. Or the northeastern corner of Colorado. That's the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah, there you go, right there. So, Shelby, thank you so much. I know that you have done this spotlight with us before, probably before the portal existed. Mm-hmm. So, thank you for coming back on. If you guys, I tell people, I don't like that those old videos are up, but there's so much good information and so many of those colleges from 2020, 2021. Don't go back and watch them, please.
We can just reference that one for this video.
Yeah. Don't go back and watch them. Not that we're so much better at video now, but I'd like to think that there's some improvement, and don't go back and watch them. So now everybody's going to go back and watch them.
Yes.
Which is great. So thank you again for joining us. You already kind of gave us a shout out where you are located. So talk to me about the community that you guys are located in.
So Sterling, Colorado is a farm ranch community in the northeast corner of Colorado. Everybody knows where Sidney, Nebraska is, where Cabela's was founded. So we're 45 minutes straight south of Sidney. We're about an hour and a half straight east of Fort Collins. They're on Highway 14. And then we have the interstate that runs, right next to Sterling. We're, a fairly large town. I mean, we've got, the Walmart, the Home Depot, we just got a Starbucks. So we're officially on the Starbucks map, which is good. So yeah, and Starbucks and Scooters are right next to each other. So that's not a monopoly in the making. I don't know what realtor had that in mind, but anyway, yeah, I mean, it's a good community. Everybody kind of, gets the googly eyes about we're in Colorado, but it's a good, conservative minded community. And we always joke we should just be a part of Nebraska or Kansas. So.
Well, that's a lot of information, but a lot of good information, because I know that could be concerning or not concerning for some students and parents. So I appreciate that. So one of the things, I know this was a thing when I first started going to school a few years ago.
Both.
Yeah. Talk to me about like some of our housing, some of our living situations on campus and off campus there in Sterling.
Yes, we have 6 dorms here on campus, which is kind of rare for a junior college to have that many dorms. But we have like a single room. We have, 2 in the same room with a floor community bathroom. We have one that's 2 in the same room with kind of a wing bathroom situation. And then we have one dorm that has pods where it's, 2 rooms with a living room kind of community, like living room area with the bathroom in there. And then kitchens and mail room and, all that are in all of them as well. So.
Okay. So a few different options. If you want to go solo or you want to surround yourself with people, then you have some options. Yeah. And then what about off campus? Oh, is there a requirement for freshmen to live on campus?
So freshmen, there is a institution requirement for freshmen to live on campus. The exemption is if you have a residence or a permanent residence within 60 miles, that's kind of the exemption. I actually like freshmen to live on campus because, you get to meet people, then, you get to be involved in the campus activities, and our student life coordinator does a great job at having those, well involved activities.
Yeah, I'm going to get on a soapbox here. I applied for an exemption because I can look back now and I know exactly what it was. I was scared. I was nervous. What was my roommate going to be like? And so I applied for the exemption. I did get it because we had some family or some close family friends that lived in the area. And that's probably one of my biggest regrets, is that I didn't put myself out there and live on campus. So I always encourage students and parents to just do it. One, it's so much easier because when you make that transition from high school to college, there's a lot of things that are now your responsibility. And if you don't have to worry about where you live and what you eat, and you worry about all the other things, then that's enough. And so that's my soapbox. I always push for students to take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, I would say junior college, you're kind of getting your feet wet and then get your life organized, and then you go on to 4-year, but it kind of gives you that opportunity, like you said, to get yourself established, get your own routine. Some adhere to their responsibilities a little better than others, but that's why in that kind of welcoming junior college environment, I think it kind of gives you that chance to grow as an individual. It kind of sets you up long term.
Yeah, for sure. So in conjunction with that, I think every college has the same answer to this question. Talk to me a little bit about some of the meal plans that are available.
Yeah, so we have, there's a variety of them, actually. We have the common one would be 10 meals a week, and then they get the flex dollars. We have a Starbucks actually on campus, and then they can get food and, things like that in the student center. But that's where you use your flex dollars. Like I said, the common one is that there's higher levels of that per week that you can use. As like any school, you don't use them during the week, you lose them. We have breakfast, lunch, dinner. Weekends, there's a brunch and a dinner. And then the common ones is we have semester meal plans. There's 100 meals per semester plus X number of flex, and there's 75 meals. But the 100 or the 10 meals a week tend to be the pretty common ones, especially for rodeo kids. So
yeah. Can you might not know this off the top of your head, but what's the price of like a semester meal plan, that common one?
So the common one with, I would say, our average cost of dorm,
You're good.
our average cost of dorm, you're looking at around like 7,000-8,000, depending on obviously the dorms are different costs also.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a good rough estimate, is that 7,000-8,000.
So I'm going to do math, but it's going to take me a little while. Typically, I would say that those could run, almost more affordable than paying rent and into consideration utilities and gas and electric and groceries and all the other things.
Well, and that's a common thing. You have a freshman that's, in the dorms, and they're, well, we're going to get a house, and, anything in the rental properties, and it's, anywhere, but especially in Sterling, it's actually cheaper to live in the dorms. And again, like I have some rodeo kids where they like to cook. They want kind of that flexibility there, and kind of that home feel. And so we just give them like the lowest meal plan possible. And our housing department is really good, in those situations. Like they can give them kind of a prorated, thing, and they get like one meal a week or, whatever. But there's definitely some flexibility there. It's not, firm. And so,
Yeah. Perfect. I think that's something that that's something that I didn't really take into consideration, what it was going to cost and what I needed to also manage in addition to that. Like, especially if you get a place that you have to pay the utilities, then you're looking at 3 or 4 bills a month that are brand new, and you have to manage and make sure those get paid on time. You got to get them set up. You got to get them deposits paid, all that stuff. And so I think it's just good that we have these conversations. It might still be an option and you might still be interested in that, but at least you know what you're walking into beforehand.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about, now I don't expect you to know all of the academic programs, but if you could just give us kind of a highlight of some that you see your students, your student athletes kind of focusing on, or even some that your school has that maybe somebody else doesn't. What are some of those programs for you guys?
Yeah, so we have a variety of programs. I've been the rodeo coach here. This is my 7th year here at NJC. So I've had students in like a variety of categories, anything from, your traditional, your nursing, the business, accounting. We have, criminal justice, and then our ag department and CTE is also very strong. We have like a wind energy program, auto diesel, and then we have, welding. In ag department, you have your animal equine science, agriculture business, and production and precision agriculture. Again, a variety of an associate's of general studies, which would be where you're here for 2 years doing internship and then go on into the workforce. Those are also associates of applied science as well. And then we have your transfer degrees, which would be your associates of arts and associates of science, where you're here for 2 years and move on. We're seeing the wave with the concurrent enrollment coming in. That, students are coming in with, anywhere from none to, 30 credits. And it just kind of depends on, that, and if they were advised in a navigational way, I guess, like towards a goal and not just taking concurrent enrollments to take them, it can really benefit. And in those cases, I suggest they do a double, or even I have a girl on the team now. She's actually going to graduate in 2 years with 3 degrees. She's going to do criminal justice, animal science, and ag business, but she came in with a lot of those those gen eds done. So she has that availability to just focus on the electives as well. And doing those double majors or those dual majors, that's not, we see that a lot. That's a fairly common thing. One thing I would say it's beneficial about NJC is I teach on campus. I'm a professor as well. And our rodeo, the rodeo coach, the livestock judging coach, and the ranch horse coach, we're actually the academic advisors for our athletes. So we're making sure they're staying on track to graduate, and, and we have our eligibility guidelines, that we keep in mind. But so that's kind of an advantage is, we have that outlet as well.
Perfect. That sounds great. So let's kind of narrow down a little bit more and be a little more focused as far as the rodeo program in particular. So talk to me about, students. I think rough stock riders, I feel like, have it a little bit easier because they come with what they have. If you're a timed event student athlete, then you've got to think about not only where you're going to live, but also where your horse lives. So talk to me about kind of boarding options. And then if you guys have a facility that is all encompassing, maybe highlight that right now too.
Yeah, so we do have a boarding facility. It's right across the street from the Logan County Fairgrounds. Northeastern Junior College is in partnership with Logan County Fairgrounds, and we actually lease the entire fairgrounds from August to May. And we have access to the 2 arenas that are there, outdoor arenas and the indoor arena, where we practice. We'll get to the practice schedule here in a little bit, but and then we have a boarding facility that's right across the street from the fairgrounds. I manage that myself. Only rodeo, ranch horse kids are allowed on there, and then we make exemptions for. We have a equine class that's like an equitation class. And so if those students bring a horse, that's where they keep them. We call it private, like Jane down the street can't keep her horse there, so it kind of has that exclusivity built in as well. There is 60 runs available, and they're in barns of 4, or sorry, there's 4 runs per barn, and they're 12 by 12 underneath with the 24-foot run coming off of it. So that allows, kind of some movement. They're not in a box stall per se. And this summer I actually started redoing a lot of the stall facilities. So we have a brand new perimeter fence, and I'm going to build some turnout pens this summer, and just continue to increase that option as well. And those are at a cost. They're $300 per run per semester, but I mean, if you do the math, it's for the time you're here, it's pretty cheap. Yeah. And it's total. I mean, it's like if you had runs at your own house, you have to feed and water and all that. So
you still have to do the work and take care of your creatures for sure. Well, and how it seems like it's pretty user friendly if you guys are just right across the street from where you practice. So there's no hauling every day. There's no hooking up, loading up, and going somewhere else. So I think it's pretty user friendly in that regard. Very convenient. What's the location from the school for your guys' facility?
It's about a 5-7 minute drive from the school, and it's right through like a residential neighborhood. I mean, it's not like you have to get out on the interstate, and I always say it's far enough away that those that want to be there and know where it is from campus can be there, but we don't have a lot of walk through traffic. I mean, we're the fairgrounds on one side, and then we're surrounded by cornfields and alfalfa fields on the other. So, we don't have a lot of, foot traffic or anything like that.
So what would you say? It seems like a situation like that, how many students do you see bring their truck and trailer and like a grocery getter car, this like a drive around car every day? Is that common?
Yeah, I'd say throughout the years, I'd say probably a quarter of them do, just to have kind of that runaround car, leave the pickup and trailer hooked up, that sort of thing. It's not uncommon, I would say, but definitely less common, if you look at that perspective.
It's not always an option for families, but I know, when I went in the fall, I had my truck and trailer. And then when I figured out that hooking up every day was more of a hindrance. Plus, it's more expensive to drive your pickup back and forth.
Yeah.
So, that's just kind of an option to be thinking about for parents and students that are watching. So you did mention practice schedules. So run us through, what does your schedule look right now? Are you guys done for the region?
Yes. So we are in our quote unquote off season now. As a region. If you look at the year, like academic year at a full glance, so we have, they come to school about the middle of August. We don't have a structured practice the first week of school, because that's kind of your time to get your life put together, I say. When I first started here, we had our membership meeting the very first day. Second day we started practice, or second day we set up stuff at the fairgrounds, like a return alley. It's very minimal, but return alley. And then the third day we started practice, and I started noticing like week 3, week 4, those freshmen that were coming in, brand new, were, it was like, well, I still need to get that binder for the class. And, I still need to do this. And then it's like, you're 4 weeks, and they're like, yeah, but, when we practice, and I want to go to, and then anyway, so I started kind of giving them that built-in, time there for them to use that.
Yeah.
And plus, they go to a lot of the on-campus activities, which again, they meet new people and, things like that. So yeah, that first week of school, they kind of get their life put together. We can adjust class schedules if we need to. And then from the second Tuesday, we practice Tuesday through Friday. Second Tuesday of school till the Friday before Thanksgiving break. We have live animal practice. I only recruit timed event kids. So we, like team rope, tie down, breakaway rope, tie goats. They get to work. They can ride, if you have barrel horse or outside horse or whatever, you can ride anytime. But on Wednesdays, the first hour practice on Wednesdays, we start at 3:30. At 3 o'clock, the county works the ground for us. So we have fresh ground every day.
Nice.
3:30 to 4:30 on Wednesdays, we do like barrel time where they have that, time, freshly worked ground if they need to cruise a horse through or, whatever. And then Thursdays, we do tie goats off horse and work go horses first thing. So it's freshly worked ground. And again, those dates kind of shuffle back if we have to leave on a Thursday, but that's, kind of the general rule of thumb. And, we have sleds and things like that, that we can pull as well. And then they have a week off of school for Thanksgiving break. We come back this semester with Thanksgiving being so late in the year. They come back and they have a week of regular class, and then finals week. Finals week is another time where we don't have practice. Like it's your time to get your job done. Academics is a high priority for our team. So making sure all those ducks are in a row. And then you get 5 weeks off for Christmas break. Come back the middle of January, middle of February. We have access to the barn. We're getting horses legged up, things like that. Middle of February-ish, we get cattle. I've had some years I get calves the 2nd of February. Other years it's towards the middle, just kind of ebbs and flows, I should say. And then middle of March, we start rodeo season, goes through end of April. And then you got a week or two regular class and then finals week. And then they're off doing their summer things. So practice, I would say, is a fairly, it's structured, but you have the flexibility to, do your own priorities, if that makes sense. Like if you walk in and they're like, man, I really just need to score today. Great. Like, man, I just want to make 2 rodeo runs and, now since we're in the off season, so the last college rodeo till Thanksgiving break, I suggest, send the good, unless you're going somewhere, you don't have plans to go somewhere, but send the good ones home. With the weather changing, I typically send the tie down calves home, because those kids will bring younger horses where they can, break by on or rope the sled, and we'll still team rope and tie goats. But it's kind of that shift into, building those younger horses,
kind of working on
academics. It just gives them another change of pace, but they still have the outlet there as well.
Yeah, perfect. So one of the one of the trends that we're seeing at the professional level, I would say almost even down to the high school level, is student athletes treating themselves as athletes now. And so talk to us about what kind of things do you guys have in play with your program when it comes to that?
So we have a full gym, free weights machines, cardio equipment and all that in our event center. I don't have a set, we're all going to meet at 5:30 in the morning and work out, but we do have access to, workout programming. We have a gal here in town. She's a PT, but she's also an adjunct for us on campus. So she's actually overseen a lot of the workouts students do as well. She can do programming herself, and it's good. I've sent kids to her office, to get, adjusted or taped or, hey, we need this looked at. And we have a lot of those community connections as well, that are available to students.
Perfect. So I asked this question, and sometimes coaches look at me like I'm nuts, but what would you say your coaching philosophy is?
I knew you were going to ask me this question. So my coaching philosophy, I would say, something that I tell recruits, every single recruit that walks in the door is, I was raised and went through, 6 years of college, was a college athlete for 5 of them. I had to take a year off to do my student teaching, but it's school's your job and rodeo's the privilege. Our GPA on the team is, we beat out, I'll say it on recorded video, we beat out, volleyball, basketball. I mean, in our GPA average because it's important,
Yeah.
And kind of that philosophy carries on through the people that come to school here. I always say if you're just coming to school to college rodeo, this probably isn't the place for you because you're going to have to send me, and I do it. They, can say I'm a meanie, but you're going to have to send grade checks, every month. Like I'm going to make sure you're on track. And if, you're struggling in a college algebra or whatever, we're going to get you to computer. We're going to get you, set up for your success. Cause I want, them to graduate and 10 years down the road, they have their dream job like I did, Yep. But that whole, mindset of, school is your job. Yes, I want them to be successful in the arena as much as I do out of the arena. And, I'll be honest. I mean, and our department chair says the same thing to all the recruits, at the end of the day, buildings are buildings, classrooms are classrooms. You're going to still get the 60 credits to get your associates in whatever, wherever you go. But, if those recruits come here and they walk out of my office and they're like, man, I could really see myself here, then great. If not, to, anybody that's listening, if you go on a college visit and you're like, I don't really know, put them in your rearview mirror and
keep looking,
I will say, one of the biggest things is I don't expect them to be 18 years old and have their whole life figured out. I think that's a scary thing for them. And, in junior college, use the opportunity to change your major and things like that. And then when you move, if you move to a 4-year, go where the academics are, because you now have a plan of what you need for practice and you'll find that, there's different outlets at the 4-year level, which I'm sure most of your videos on here, they can go watch and see that. But, the academics is something that nobody can take away from you at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I talk about a lot, and I personally was guilty of this, people would ask me, well, where are you going to go? What are you looking for? And my response was always, whoever gives me the most money. And I think that was, parents obviously don't do it on purpose, but you grow up and you just hear about how expensive college is. Mm-hmm. And so I understand, and I know, and I understand why that's the first priority, and let's talk, there's other options and other things that you can be thinking about to save money, because one of the things that you don't want to do is go where you get the most money and then you hate it and you have to transfer, and then that costs you more anyways. Mm-hmm. So if we're really doing our job in this platform, it's just making sure that the students and parents have all of the information that they need at their fingertips, and to be able to ask questions, but also to be able to see what other scholarship opportunities there are. And I'm sure and what I'm learning now is that at each school, there's like the FAFSA, federal application for aid. I always get, but that's kind of a very general place to start. But every school has different scholarships that you can apply for. And I think that, just making your decision based off finance is ill-advised at best. Like there's too many other opportunities out there. And so, just like you said, buildings are buildings. Make sure that it's a good fit for you.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things, and I do have, like a rodeo scholarship budget. One thing, that is different, I would say, from us, as other schools, if I say, for example, like an in-state, that's 15 credits, room, board, stalls, all that, you're looking at roughly 14 to 15,000, give or take. And if I give a full ride, in-state, which is that, 14, 15,000, give or take fees and course fees and all that. But like that's going to come out of my rodeo budget. I'm not going to use, well, you got tuition from the institution, a tuition scholarship from the institution, and I'm just going to kick in the room and board, and it's quote unquote a full ride. Like, you're getting all of that money out of my specific rodeo budget, which can hurt me and, benefit me all at the same time. But one thing I always encourage kids to do, our foundation does a great job at having private donors. In May, we have an ag banquet. It celebrates our 3 ag sports, rodeo, livestock judging, and ranch horse. We're not a part of athletics. We're part of the ag department, and, kind of governed by our department chair. But they do a great job at getting donors, and our foundation does. And in last May, I think we gave out like 35 private scholarships to students. And I've been on a lot of those committees as well. And there's only like 1 or 2 kids that apply. And it's like, you're walking away from the quote on, somebody's money, but the free money, that you're getting. And some people don't want to fill out the FAFSA or don't qualify. So that's why I always encourage them, scholarships. There's job opportunities on campus. We have hundreds of work study positions, and that's an easy, flexible way to make money than going and waitressing or, whatever. And they can fit into the class schedule as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things that is kind of a misconception is you almost never stop applying for those scholarships. Each year you just keep going back to the financial aid office and keep applying as freshmen for your sophomore year, as sophomores for juniors, junior for senior. And there's even master's programs now that you can still get some scholarships for. So I think if you play your cards right, maybe you only get a little bit from the rodeo program, but you can still get money from the school, from those private donors. And so I think just making sure that students are aware of that. I would ask, so I have 2 kind of personal-ish questions, but what is a recruiting tip that you would give to student athletes?
Like what I look for? Is that what you're...
I would like for you to answer that, but then also give student athletes like high school juniors and seniors some type of a tip, like what they should be doing right now.
Okay. Doing right now, especially in our region with it being out of the regular season, this is a good time. A lot of, schools have some sort of practice. So getting in, now I know basketball is kind of starting up, so that makes it kind of hard, but getting in and contacting those coaches now. I will say, as a coach, Heidi, you've done a great job at providing this platform and getting those resources out there, but there's no true way as a coach to be able to reach everybody, all this, unless you're, have a team that's doing that. So I would say, don't be afraid to reach out. I'll full-fledged admit, myself, I grew up within this region. I grew up 2 hours north of here, and I had no clue what Northeastern Junior College was until I actually went to junior college in the Central Rocky Mountain region. I'd never been to campus until I interviewed here 7 years ago. And it was like, how did I not know about this place? And I'm not speaking illy on, my
anywhere else
predecessors, or anywhere else, but don't be afraid to reach out and, put this can sound maybe bad, but put the ego aside a little bit and be like, hey, I saw your video or see the Instagram, Facebook posts, I want to look more into this and, and go from there. Don't be discouraged if, you're not contacted first, because it is, from coach's perspective, it can get kind of overwhelming,
If that is not the number one thing that I hear from every coach, what's really hard is that there's an expectation as a student athlete that you're going to be recruited. And really, that's not the case. You have to get yourself recruited. There's a difference between the two. And it's that when you are recruited, coaches are reaching out to you. And I think all too often, kids, student athletes just expect to be recruited. And it does happen, and it's not the case, I would say, 95% of the time, before the reason that you're talking about. Like, I would venture to guess that most rodeo coaches also have a full-time job. And so recruiting comes last, unfortunately, because they're also managing students, just like you talked about. They're managing practices, they're managing entry fees, they're getting kids to the rodeos. So recruiting does end up coming kind of last on their priority list.
Yeah, and it's you could call it like a season, like I'm in the recruiting. Yes, you're always looking and, yes, you are. But, when you're in the season, it's almost hard to set up visits, because it takes a chunk of time, and I'm not discouraging people from doing that, but, definitely this
the lead.
November, December, January, February, that's, when I get a lot of visits. And like I said, I think, and a lot of students, I should say, also have the question of, well, I didn't high school rodeo, can I still college rodeo? And it's like, absolutely. Heidi, you've been there with me at the high school finals, at the college fair, and it's like we're all fighting for the same pool, so I've broadened my search into, those families that can only, afford to do or have the family structure to do, like the Little Britches rodeos, the MBHAs and the barrel racings. And, don't be discouraged to college rodeo if you've had success in those other avenues. If you haven't high school rodeoed, because it's not the end all.
Well, and I would also add something that I feel like this platform is going to be really good for is those kids that kind of have that aren't winning those national titles, that don't have coaches reaching out all the time, but maybe haven't peaked in high school, but still are coachable, have great attitudes, and have a desire to do well and to get better. Those are kids that can kind of get lost in the radar in that transition from high school to college. And so this is where we want to make sure that those students, obviously we want everybody to have the information, but I think those are the students that just have a higher propensity to fall through the cracks and maybe just decide, I didn't really do that great in high school, so I'm not even going to pursue it. And we want to see those numbers. We want to see those students come out too.
Oh yeah. And and I'll full admit, I've, in the goat tie-in, I won, some rounds or placed in the rounds at the high school finals, but, could never essentially, put it together, put it together. And then, went on to junior college and, senior college and ended up, being second twice in the nation and winning the nation, the goat tying, and, made it in the breakaway. And, it was just, and I think too, as a parent, you almost have to look at, where they're going to peak,
Yeah.
like maturity wise and, things like that. That's, important to consider, I mean, as a junior college coach, I have expectations for them as freshmen, but in reality, I know we're playing for the sophomore year. They're going to get experience freshman year, freshman spring, really get to rolling, getting things figured out. And then sophomore year, I mean, we're hitting the ground running and really gaming, for the college finals. And, yeah, I mean, and I've been fortunate to have freshmen qualify for the college finals, in all 7 years that I've been here. But yeah, so.
Yeah, for sure. So my last question is, what books and podcasts, or if you are reading and if you're listening to podcasts, what are you listening to? What are you reading?
I listen to a lot of podcasts when I'm cleaning pens here lately, but being in the pro rodeo industry on the breakaway side of things, Jordan Joe Hollenbaugh, I think it's In the Loop. She has a good podcast. If you want some real world perspectives on the pro rodeo side of things, Charlie Crawford has a good one out there. And then I'm dear friends with, Donnie Taylor. She doesn't have a podcast, but she has some books out there. And, I grew up, my colleagues give me a hard time because, I grew up and it wasn't, kids' books on the shelf. It was, we're going to, get into sports psychology. I'm very thankful my parents, had that philosophy, and, early on that was instilled in us is, like Mind Gym is one of my all-time favorite books. I read that all the time, and I'm just looking at my shelf over here, like The Inner Game of Tennis. Wooden has some good books. And if you want a good movie, if reading's not for you, this will kind of show my age, but The Legend of Bagger Vance is a great movie. It's about golf, but in all reality, it has nothing to do with golf. So, and it's age appropriate, for all levels as well. So,
yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you guys that are watching live, thank you for tuning in. Also, make sure that you guys are, since we did talk about scholarships and money a lot, make sure y'all are checking out the Scholarship Corner. We did start posting our daily scholarships once again. I will be giving a little snippet of information out on social. Every Saturday, we'll post another scholarship. More than likely, if you're in the community, you've already seen it. If you're in the portal, you've already seen that scholarship. But just want to really start highlighting some of the other areas that we have in the community. Outside the arena, we are working on, we did a little piece on how to finance your college, upcoming college for parents in the Parent Speak section. We do have some things coming up in the Outside the Arena section. I've been just trying to work with some other providers to get some valuable tools and valuable insight in on that section. And then, of course, mention the Scholarship Corner. I have not done any new alumni interviews, but hope to kind of launch that after the first of the year. We're getting kind of to, especially for alumni, we're getting to almost like NFR season where people are preparing for the NFR and starting to make their plans for that trip. So we want to be respectful of everybody's time in the industry and knowing that this is kind of an exciting time of year for everyone. Also coming up on the 1 year mark from when I hit that scary publish button for the community. So we'll probably have some specials roll out around that same time, but thank you so much to our advertisers in the community. Again, give a shout out to Casper College and Garden City Community College. Again, want to thank you, Shelby, for joining us this morning. I know that as coaches and as a professor, your time is very valuable. So we appreciate that. Want to tell you guys, if you have any questions of Shelby or about NJC's program or facility, or if you were listening, now's a good time to set up a tour. You can reach out to her right inside the portal, or you can find her on social media. So thank you again for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next week.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.